Hey folks, how's it going? RedMaster here, and welcome back to another episode of Cards and Castles 2, where today we've got a hidden combo deck for you instead of a known combo. Kind of giving some love to both sides here. Gotta set up the known combos first, and then sneak into the hidden combos for some fun little trickery and shenanigans. Which, of course, in a game like this right now, where a lot of things are still fresh and being developed and being perfected and refined, it's fun to find little combos like this and kind of flesh them out and make them their own little thing, even if they're not super powerful in the ever-changing meta. Of course, several cards being changed and updated on, you know, seemingly a week's notice, as evidenced with the last video I put out here with the known combos list. As soon as I put out the Rush video, you know, I think 2-3 days afterwards, I got hit with a patch rendering some of the pretty valuable and important cards in that deck a bit weaker, but still say the deck is relatively fine. Hard to say. I haven't really picked it up. I've kind of been experimenting with other options at the moment, like today's list we're going to bring you guys in this video. Before we jump into that, there is some things I want to address that are happening in the wider landscape, not only for the channel, but for the community of the game as well. So the first thing I want to talk about before we hop into the deck is just a quick little advertisement for the upcoming first ever Cards and Castles 2 tournament. It is a cash prize tournament being hosted on July 1st. Of course, right now the 5 p.m. is scheduled for my time zone, but if you join the Discord and jump in, you should see your own local time zone to get a better idea of what time this event will actually be happening in your region. And of course, it's a straightforward tournament. Best of one, double elimination brackets, losers and winners, winners being best of 3. No restrictions on decks or what you can bring in, swapping between different decks, kind of keep your opponent off of their game. All up for grabs here, and of course you can read more on the rules and such by joining Discord, as well as signing up in the Discord as well here. I would put the challenge in the description of the video, but I feel like right now it's more respectful to keep this tournament to a Discord only scenario. So if you aren't in the Discord, feel free to hop in and join and get a sense of where the community is at. Join up with all your fellow Cards and Castles players, or Cards and Castles 2 players, as we're all exploring the world of this game together. So jump on in. July 1st is the date for the tournament. Very curious to see how it goes, with how many things can change between now and then, as well as what will just happen in the tournament in general. Very excited to see it, and hopefully we will see you there as well. And another quick thing before we jump into the videos, I just want to kind of put it out there that I am working on some new concepts and videos to bring for Cards and Castles 2, so that's why it's taking me a bit longer for these uploads. Got some things kind of stirring away at the pot here that I'm not entirely sure how to plan out, and with life the way that it is, I find it harder and harder for me to actually sit down and record videos. Rest assured, things are coming, things are being planned out, just in case you were wondering on the schedule of uploads, because they have been a little infrequent, and of course continue to be infrequent with the way that, like I said, life operates. So without further ado, enough ramble from me. Let's go ahead and jump right in to the deck list and show you guys today's deck for the video, Rider's Will. Alright, and so here we are. This is the Rider's Will deck list, a deck in the Crusader and Necromancer factions that primarily focuses on a combo of 2 cards: Strength of Will and Spectral Rider. Spectral Rider, for those who don't know, can create a Necromancer unit based on the attack power it has. So if it hits with 3 attack, it'll generate a 3 gold Necromancer unit, which you can see is a pretty big pool right here. Lich, Squire, White Knight, Magician, Bone Drake, Reaper. It's a healthy pool of units to choose from. However, when that attack increases, so does the potential for stronger Necromancer units. And here's where Strength of Will comes in. Combine Strength of Will onto Rider, and you instantly boost it to a 7/7 Rider. And of course, for those who don't know, in the 7 gold slot, we have not only Norabon, which can of course spawn more skeletons off of any tombstones that are maybe still lingering in the area, But it can also summon another Spectral Rider and keep up the pressure, because of course that charge will take into effect, and of course that new rider can then go on, hit something, and generate another Necromancer unit. So it's ideally you want this kind of flow to happen where your opponent is then overrun by Necromancer units just because of the interactions between Rider and the increased attack power. That's not all, though, as Strength of Will can also be used on a variety of other units in this deck to, of course, create some nice value. Things like the Paladin can grow to a 7/7 as well. Another one of my funny favorite combos is the Dark Magician. Being a 1/4, the Strength of Will boosts him up to a 6/6. And of course, when this unit slays anything on the board, it creates 2 zombies in its place. So that's how you can get maybe an early zombie swarm going very early in the game. There's a lot of cool ways that you can kind of manipulate Strength of Will in this deck. And there's probably more, too, that I maybe did not include for the sake of just keeping other strong options in the deck. But overall, it is a funny little combo that I think I've had quite a lot of fun with, even in a meta right now where there's a lot of AoE running around. Things like Lightning is very prevalent as I'm recording this, so we're seeing a lot of Yarm Lightning, a lot of Yarm Giant and Ragnar combos that are just really, really gross. And while Lightning does probably kill this deck, and that's why I mentioned at the start that this might not be a very meta-worthy contender, I still think it's a fun little Necromancer deck that maybe can even avoid the Lightning too if you're careful with your Tombstones, because you're not using a whole lot of Tombstone stuff in this. You're mainly just creating big units off of the Spectral Rider, so hopefully with that you can have a little bit of fun and maybe avoid all of the dangerous Lightning shenanigans here. So with that being said, let's go ahead and break down the rest of the deck here and show you guys what we've got included in here. Starting with, of course, the lower end of the spectrum. Early game here, we've got a lot of just removal options, a lot of indirect damage. Things like Soul Steal and Verdict can take out some early or late game units respectively. Bearhawk as our only early drop unit, only 2 gold in here, is another target for Strength of Will, can boost him up to a 6/6 in the early game. But Bearhawk I find to generally be one of the better 2 drops at the moment. It's just a very healthy card that can do what it needs to do. Really just defend the early game against any troublesome cards that might come barreling in and provide a bit of a nuisance. So, and of course we also have Baptism of Fire to help clean up with that too. If there's any early threats here that you can maybe burn off with Baptism to then turn against your opponent, you can easily do that as well. Mischievous Imp into Baptism of Fire is good for you. Get that Imp, get that spell, so on and so forth. But not a whole lot of early stuff going on in the deck because we do want to focus our stuff in the 3 gold. That's so we can start generating Tombstones and preparing the Spectral Rider, because Tombstones are important. We do have a lot of Tombstone-centered units because we do want the Spectral Rider to maybe hit some Tombstones as well to generate units for free, you know, not risking taking any damage against the big man, so we can keep popping out things for free. But anyways, let's go ahead and move into, the next card. Bone Drake, just a solid 3-drop here. Early Tombstone synergy, boost up to a 5/4. It's not bad, especially if you have the extra Tombstones lying around. So, makes sense there. Dark Magician, again, the Strength of Will target. Primarily, that's why he's in here. Creating the extra zombies for the additional swarm is great. Salar Soldier for some just cheap draw cycle stuff, and of course we want the Tombstones, so that's why we're taking the Soldier over the books. Reaper to initiate the Tombstone stuff, kind of have to include it because he is the card that enables the Entomb strategy. Wizard to spell search your deck, can bring either the Strength of Will, Soul Steal, Verdict, or Baptism up, I believe. Is there nothing over here? Yeah. You got 4 targets for it. Verdict, Baptism, Soul Steal, and Strength of Will. So his pool is pretty limited, so you're usually going to find what you need pretty easily. And Wizard, just, a good 3-drop to have. Strength of Will, we already mentioned the star of the deck. We wanted that to boost up Rider and any of our other potential units for some big attack power. Witch Doctor to help you handle your swarms. Dragon Knight as a way to help clean some things up. The Charge Drake, for instance, can proc the Verdict very easily, but also just Dragon Knight could be good because it keeps it gives you that charge element in games that I feel like people are or should be taking advantage of if they haven't already. Just more charge to interact with the board better. Paladin to eliminate any pesky lower attack, big threat units, things like Frog Prince or whatnot. And again, also great strength of will target. Phantom Horse is another way to debuff some potential troublesome cards, so that way they're taken out of the picture. Norbon to generate our big skeletons, potentially off of more tombstones. You could throw in Zethek if you don't have Norbon. I was running Zethek before, but I feel like Norbon is just better because he produces a lot of stronger units. Zethek can still do the job, I think, just as fine, though. And, of course, rounding out the list, we've got Spectral Rider, the star of the show, the card that will deal you your big damage and create a lot of funny cards for you that may not have been included in your deck in the first place. So, with that being said, that was the Rider's Will deck breakdown. But let's go ahead and get into some games and see how this deck actually performs in combat. Alright, so our first game is going to be up against Goku here. I know he's got a much larger name, but I'm going to call him Goku for simplicity's sake here. We're going to go ahead and get a fairly okay hand. Baptism is nice to have in the early go of it. The Dark Magician and the Soldier for some nice early drops as well, especially since we do have that coin. We'll both pass turn 1 here. Nothing going on. He'll use Battle Cry turn 2, bring out the Fencer. Fencer gets scary because it does get that 3 boost on my turn, so it makes it harder to interact with, but, you know, 1-3 is fine to deal with. He'll go with the Penguin next, indicating to me that there is some Frost shenanigans going on in the deck here. Maybe Frost focused if Penguin's going to be popping out this early. Wizard going to hit the board here, pull us out to the second of the Baptisms. He'll move with the Fencer, poke for 1, move in with the Penguin as well. And we'll eat the Frost Blast onto the Wizard, starting to power up the Penguin a bit. I did want to coin Paladin this turn, but because he increased the attack power of Penguin, I was forced to do the double Baptism to remove it and clear it off the board. Not happy about it, but we'll, got to protect our board a little earlier in the game from taking big damage. He'll go Ice Weaver on his turn 5 here. This is going to lead us into a great Paladin play from our side. Cleaning off the Ice Weaver with no trouble at all. He'll go Augmentation, though, which I assume he had gotten from the Ice Weaver because that is a Necromancer card. Well, he'll hit the Hall of Frost and then Shattering Strike to remove the Paladin from the board. Okay, not bad. We do have Norbon, so all these tombstones being generated for us is actually helpful. I'll go Soldier and Magician just for some cycle here, keep things fresh and keep things threatening. He'll go Wyvern Rider to pop into the Dark Magician here, summoning the Ice Drake, which will actually finish the job. So he is worried about that Dark Magician. He knows what it could do, so he'll decide to kill it as fast as possible, which is fine. We'll go Phantom Horse, the Wyvern Rider, using the Soldier to clean up the remaining Ice Drake, pass it back. He goes Ragnar for turn and pass, and then move the Wyvern Rider back and then pass. Which I think Ragnar is probably the big be-all and end-all of Lightning decks, so I am very nervous at this point. We will decide to go ahead and pop the Depot into the Shattering Strike into Norbon, because I think that is the best play we could do. I did want to Soul Steal Norbon, maybe, or yeah, something like that, but we just didn't have the resources here. And he goes for Augmentation, Lich, Ice Drake to follow up, making the Ragnar even stronger. He'll shatter my Skeletal Knight. Actually, is this thing called a Skeletal Knight? I just want to make sure. Skeletal Warrior, excuse me. He decides to shatter the Warrior, which is a nice way for him to try to protect that Ragnar, but unfortunately we do have enough resources on board and in hand to clean up the Ragnar, although it did cost us a pretty penny. At this point, I think we should go for the Rider, I'd say, because we do want to start putting some pressure in. We don't have the Strength of Will, but this is still a good spot to just start throwing units at him when he's especially low on resources. He goes for Horn of Valor into a second Frost Lich, though, into the Berserker, and I decided that Berserker is a big threat because this thing can start really growing in attack power if we just decide to keep trading in units. Thankfully, we do have the answer in the board here. Norbon pops Tombstone. We'd put the Rider into the Berserker first because we want to keep our Rider alive to generate more units, and then we pop into the Berserker with that extra Skeletal Pirate. Warrior, meanwhile, goes up and bops the Ice Drake to clear it from the board, and we summon the Penguin as well, which I think might have been a mistake. I should have summoned the Penguin first because we do have the freeze inflicted on the Warrior. A little oversight, but it is what it is. We do draw the Strength of Will, though, which is fantastic. We can now use that with maybe the Necromancer until Yenneroth hits the board. Yenneroth's a little bit gross, but the misplay of the combat interaction there means we do get this free White Knight to start hitting in on face. And of course, we'll spawn the Witch Doctor because I don't really want to start doing anything else. I want to save the Bone Drakes for when I have to move into castle and start doing some big damage. The Shadow Strike, of course, is going to go ahead and pop that big penguin, which is starting to really grow up there, if you didn't already catch it. It Winds of the North here, do some other free shenanigans, and pass back to me. Hit in for some 4 with the castle, because we can keep doing it. Why not? Norbomb moves up. I verdict the Yenneroth to remove it from the board here. I just push everything up in the meantime. Go for the Bear Hog and the Peasant to pass turn. Again, holding on to a lot of cards, just in case things like you see Frost Wheel come out and do some big damage. He'll Frost Blast my White Knight, which is fine because we do still have Strength of Will for the Bear Hog, making this a 6/6, moving it in, chomping for face, and of course bringing the castle ever so closer to 0. I do a little bit of Tombstone chopping there to make room for the Bone Drakes I want to play at this point. I figured, you know what, might as well get these 5/4s out to start threatening some potential lethal here, because if the Bear Hog and the Bone Drake aren't taken out, then it would be game over. Cryonic, the Frost Giant, and of course Frost Giant coming out now, makes it a bit difficult to actually get to the castle for lethal. I decided to push this down, move in the small Bone Drake, or the lower Bone Drake. I don't know why I said small, they're both the same size. And go for the Dragon Knight, which actually thankfully yields me an Ice Drake to freeze off his own Ice Drake. That's why I cleared off the Tombstone with the Peasant to force the Drake spawn upwards to reach the other Drake. I'll go for a Yarm Giant here, which is unfortunate because I don't have another Verdict to deal with something like that, so I will have to find a way to get around that. He goes for 2 more Winds of the North in the meantime to create a large Frostbite against my other units. At that point, I figured, you know what, we'll take out some big threats here. We clear out to the Frost Giant, the Paladin kills off the Ice Drake, and we pass it back. If I maybe saved for a Soul Steal, maybe I would have been okay, but or at least maybe I could have used Soul Steal to then pop the Yarm Giant and win the game outright, but it is what it is. He'll do some other shenanigans here, Shadow Strike and freezing to clear off my White Knight. Another Ice Weaver coming down, doing his thing, which is fine. I decided to go for a cheeky little play here in the Bone Drake, popping the Yarm Giant. Phantom Horse to kill off the Giant. Unfortunately, I cannot reach his castle through this way, but hey, that's fine. We'll go ahead and use the Ice Drake to hit into the Ice Weaver to freeze it off so it can't do any further damage. Go for the Reaper and pass it back. At this point, our opponent's running out of options here. He goes for the Horn of Valor to draw some units. Goes for the Frost Giant, freezes off my Dragon Knight, but at that point, it's too little too late. The game will be secured. We do a little bit of summoning here, just kind of get some quest stuff done, and of course, Paladin swings in for the 2, which overall is a great first game to showcase the potential power. Now, we didn't really see the cool Spectral Rider stuff in this matchup, admittedly, but I think what we did see was kind of a preview at Strength of Will with that Bear Hog. Just the creation of the Tombstones and Skeletons stuff, when you're not running AoE like the Lightning here, which thankfully we didn't see from Goku in this match. You can create these nasty boards that just fill up a lot with Tombstones and other units that really start to clog the environment around your opponent. And of course, that means you can, of course, summon Norbon or do some funny things off Spectral Rider. So, with that being said, game number 1 in the bag. It is a W. So let's go ahead and check out to see what other games this deck has done with or played through. Excuse me. And our next match will be up against Linderstein in the Viking Crusader. Now, admittedly, before we do start this matchup, I will say we did play kind of a best 2 out of 3 in ranked because of how the queues were tonight. And Linder did get the better of me in a 2-3 matchup here. But I do want to show you the game that I did manage to take here. I just kind of to show you the matchup against Lightning and how you should go about it. Because there were some Lightning shenanigans, I think, in this game, and if not, in this deck for sure. So anyways, opening up here, a couple of Peasant spawns into the early Soul Steal. I go for Castle Hit because we do want the Strength of Will to provide some max value. He decides to weaken the Bear Hog and kill it with the Verdict, unfortunately, so we can't do any funny Strength of Will early on. But we do have Dark Magician still. And Dark Magician, I think, is still okay with me because we could, of course, create that 6/6 for some funny damage. Of course, I want to put the Peasant into the Dark Magician, so he'll go for the Pegacorn and pass, which is fine to me because then we Strength of Will, create a 6/6 Necromancer, pop into Pegacorn, and generate 2 free zombies as well as Tombstone. He'll get the Gorgon because of the Pegacorn last will, but I think that's okay. He did have the Lightning Bolt, which he uses to clear off the Dark Magician, so that way he doesn't have to generate 2 more zombies. Goes for the Revenger, clears off some Tombstones, and actually retreats the Gorgon to kill off the fresh Tombstone, which I thought was a little odd, but I thought, okay, sure. We'll go with the Paladin here. Paladin clears off the Revenger to take away that little protection on the castle. do some cleanup of the units here, clean up his Gorgon, and clean up his Peasant to, of course, establish a clean board state for us, or at least one that we're dominating in. Now here, I had a bit of a conundrum with what to play here, but I ultimately decided to go for the castle hit, Paladin clear, the Rider gets summoned, Rider pops into the Tombstone, and generates a unit for us. So it's going to get some additional pressure on his face. The Tarius can't really do everything here, so he has to kind of pick and choose his battles. Goes for the Armed Giant defensive play, Master Arms popping the zombie, which I thought was a good call. And of course, he'll pass it back to us off of that. We'll go ahead, clean up the Tarius with the Squire. Dragon Knight going in for the Bone Drake here. Bone Drake going to hit the Armed Giant. Verdict to pop the Armed Giant, clear off the Guardian power. And of course, the Mordok or Spectral Rider should be hitting into face, generating another Skeletal Squire. And of course, that's why we keep the Dragon Knight in the deck here to kind of clear Guardians like that, using the Verdict combo to work alongside it. Here he goes for a cheeky Yarm Lightning again, clears the board, and takes my Spectral Rider off of the Baptism. And of course, that's why I talked about Yarm Lightning being one of the great weaknesses of this deck. It takes away a lot of your forward progress or your early progress, and kind of reduces you pretty badly if you don't have additional follow-up units that can survive the Yarm Lightning. So a bit unfortunate there, but regardless, we'll go ahead and keep moving in. Takes out my Wizard with the combination of the Peasant and the books, goes for the Spectral Rider that he took off of me, and summons a Bone Drake off of the Tombstone that was there. I say, alright, that's not too bad here, so we're going to go ahead and do a Salahar Soldier play here. Do the Soldier play in here, which admittedly is a misplay, and I'll tell you why in a second. Witch Doctor, Baptism my own Witch Doctor to weaken everything. Generate the Witch Doctor back into my hand. Soul Steal to give the Soldier a additional attack boost. And Baptism to take back the Rider. A bit of convoluted Baptism plays there, but I think still funny to ensure that we were able to not only get the Rider back and clear his Rider, but also do a little bit extra damage in the process. Yeah. And of course, just like that, we do have the combo Spectral Rider and Strength of Will. Go for the Verdict here to clear off the additional Guardian in the Armed Giant. Reaper Peasant, I decided that next turn will be our Spectral Rider turn. He'll do some things here, kind of clearing up the board a bit, which I think is fine. Frost Blasts my Soldier. Sure. Legionnaire. Sure, that's fine. And here's where we do our funny combo. Thankfully, I had the metal to pull this off in one turn. Rider, coin into the Will. So now you have the big Spectral Rider hitting into the 1/1, creating another Spectral Rider. Spectral Rider comes in, pops the Legionnaire, generates a White Knight, and we pass back to him. You see there pretty much how this game can be, or not this game can be, or how the Spectral Rider combo can be pretty devastating when paired with big attacks, or at least Spectral Rider paired with big attacks. Funny. That's what the point I'm trying to say is. Anyways, Bone Drake gets summoned. I think he stole it off of me pretty much, which I think is fine. We'll go for the Lucian here, go for the Bone Drake, kind of swarm him a bit with some power. Take out the Lucian, Manicore comes out. I say, okay, it's fine with me. We'll go for the Bone Drake here, hitting into the Peasant. We'll go for the Phantom Horse to lower the attack, or the stats of the Manicore. Throw it on the Peasant. Don't want to throw the Norbon just yet, because I do want the Norbon to get at least 3 units. T-Rex comes out, which I thought was an interesting choice. I don't know why T-Rex is in the deck, but sure. We go for the Phantom Horse into the T-Rex. Norbon to get 2 Grave Knights, plus the Frostlets, which is very, very good. Pause it back to him, and at that point, he surrenders. He doesn't have the gas to keep up with the incoming onslaught of units. So, right there, I think that was probably one of the big highlights of running this deck. Getting the 7/7 Spectral Rider, which is, of course, the intended combo, and just spawning more of those big units off of Spectral Rider. I wish I could have gotten more, but up against a deck like this, he had the answers, which I thought, made sense. Lightning stuff is pretty prevalent as well, so the chances that he wouldn't be able to clear it same turn were pretty low. But overall, I think a very good demonstration of what the true combo of the deck can do, the Spectral Rider into the Strength of Will. So, with that, we do have one more game to look at for tonight, so let's go ahead and check out game number 3. Alright, and our last replay will be us taking on Napo here in a bit of a Necromancer Warlock encounter. So free from the Viking shenanigans, but still with Warlock, there's a lot of scary burn stuff going on here, so we do have to be careful. Things like Blaze, Dragon's Fire, etc. Goes in pretty hard with the early Pumpkin here, which I think, okay, interesting. Don't really see a lot of him these days, but he'll come on in, hit my Depot for 3 and pass back. Well, actually, no, he'll play an Imp, excuse me, and then pass back, which I think, you know, okay. We'll go for the Baptism here, kind of clean this up. We could have gone into the Bear Hog, but I kind of want to save it. Plus, we can coin into the Pumpkin as well to provide a block, so that way we don't lose our Depot early on. He'll go for a Trap set, which I predicted to be Backdraft. Usually, Warlocks like to run the Backdraft Trap and not the other Magic Rune one, and I was correct. Summon the Bear Hog, play into the Backdraft here to pop the Bear Hog, which is fine because we don't lose anything else on the board. We'll pass back to him. He goes for a Witch Doctor Raw, which I thought, okay, I don't know why, but sure. We'll go for the Salahar Soldier, bring in a Phantom Horse, and pass back, hoping to get a trade-off here. But he goes for the Mithril, making the Witch Doctor harder for us to kill off. He'll hit into our Soldier, killing it off, keeping his Witch Doctor alive. Sacrificial Knife on the Peasant, Curse of Death, which I'll spoiler alert right now, he hit my Spectral Rider in hand. Which, a bit of a problem, but sure. I'll baptize in the Witch Doctor so that we can generate another Witch Doctor into our hand for the game. We'll Bone Drake one of those tombstones away to create a 5/4 threat. He'll go Baby Dino, kind of some basic defense here, and a Peasant to pass, which I thought, sure, why not. We'll go for the Baby Dino hit, generating the Raptor, which will attack automatically now, thanks to the latest patch. Soul Steal that Peasant to create a stronger Bone Drake. The Wizard spawn, and a pass back to him, pulling the Strength of Will, which I think is great for Spectral Rider, which is sitting in our hand. The Witch Doctor, excuse me, comes out now, again, and of course, Sacrificial Knife is a great way to proc that Lash Will ability, clearing off the board. Summon an Imp, summon a Peasant, and pass back. Again, not really a whole lot going on, but sure. Going for the Noraban, I will. Summoning 2 Grave Knights, which is, again, fantastic. And I do see an opportunity here. He'll go for the Rakanoth. He'll pop the Depot, retreat back the Imp to kind of protect face a bit, the best as he can. And I thought, okay, sure. We'll Noraban the Imp away, cleaning it off the board. We'll go for the hit against the Rakanoth of one of the Grave Knights. Use the Skeletal Dog to clear off the other. And use one of the 2 Strength of Wills in our hand to create a 10/10 Grave Knight, walking in for some massive damage. And of course, this is lethal in 2 turns if he doesn't have a response for this big lad. He'll hit the Noraban with the Peasant, clearing it off the board here. Dragon's Fire, going to use it on the Peasant to kind of pop some damage around. And actually pulls the Verdict from my Depot, which is a little unfortunate here because that does clean off our big Grave Knight. I was hoping the Grave Knight was going to be the end of it, but I guess not. We'll summon the Rider, which at that point is, you know, discovered to be the Curse of Death unit. He'll go for the Pumpkin, and I think the Dino, yeah, go for a Dino play here. He'll go for the Strength of Will, which I think, again, I don't know how he stole off of me for some reason, which I think I don't know. I don't know how. Maybe it was a random spell. I have no idea. Anyways, I used the second Strength of Will in hand to generate a 4/4 to, of course, start producing Witch Doctors from my Spectral Rider, which I thought was very funny. Popping the Pumpkin with the Phantom Horse, passing it back to him. Go for a Headmaster play, which, of course, results in him getting the Strength of Will onto his stars, which I thought was, you know, fine. That's good with me. We'll create another Witch Doctor from the Spectral Rider, keep on hitting in. Another Spectral Rider comes down, hits against the Tombstone, generating the Skeletal Squire for free, Peasant to further block. And, yeah, at that point, he's not looking too good. He'll Dragon's Fire the Spectral Rider away. He'll kind of clear off the Riders with the help of the Saurus, which I thought was fine. Setting a trap, but at that point, the game is over. A lot of Witch Doctors in hand over, I think, how many Witch Doctors in total did we see that game? Probably, like, between the hand and the field, maybe... God, it feels like 7 Witch Doctors in that one game. So, very, very spooky potential. Even when your Spectral Rider is down and out, if he can still breathe the Strength of Will, excuse me, will push him back into the game, just like you saw in this matchup. But yeah, overall, I thought that it performed quite well against the games that we showcased it, and overall in general too. There were some tough matches, but again, the Lightning losses are to be expected. It's a bit of a poor matchup in that regard, but still a lot of fun with this deck. Probably too much fun with Rider. I feel like that's all I'm playing now since the latest changes have happened. But, you know, I think it's a fun deck. If you want to try something new, go ahead and try it out for yourself. The deck description or deck code will be in the description below. And with that being said, let's go ahead and close out this video properly. Right, and so we come to the close of another Cards and Castles 2 Hidden Combos video. If you guys did enjoy, be sure to let me know your thoughts on the Riders World deck by leaving them down in the comment section below. And of course, down there you can find the deck description, deck code, or not, well, you can find the deck code in the description, as well as a Discord link to sign up for the upcoming Cards and Castles 2 tournament. Feel free to enter if you haven't already. There is a cash prize for free entry. Or, well, if you win, that is, before I promote that you can just earn money. No, you can't earn money by simply participating. You can earn money by winning the tournament. Anyways, it's late here, so I'm going to go ahead and sign off, folks. You know, be sure to like the video if you enjoyed it, share with your friends, subscribe if you're new or haven't done so already, and we'll see you back here next time. So until then, stay gaming.